What is up, guys? It's your boy Cactus's Law, and today we are going to be showcasing the brand new Warden's Law hand cannon that has just become available to acquire this week. But it wasn't originally. Something very weird happened at the Tuesday weekly reset, and that is, as you can see right here, the Nightfalls and Grandmasters, which I am playing, were actually dropping the Swarm machine gun. However, it was double Nightfall loot, and it was, I believe, the first time that the Heist Battlegrounds Europa was available to play as a Nightfall. And a lot of people online said, well, this would have been the perfect time to drop the Warden's Law, which is a brand new Nightfall weapon people are very excited for, and Bungie, as you can see, actually agreed. So they changed out the drop from the Swarm to the Warden's Law. It's going to be dropping now the rest of the week with those 2x Nightfall rewards, and the Swarm is now dropping next week. And of course, your boy has you covered, so linked up above is the guide I made on how to beat this week's Grandmaster, as well as some cracked loadouts for each class to help you beat it, so definitely check that out if you want to get the Warden's Law for yourself. So, why are people so excited about the Warden's Law, excited enough that they got mad enough at Bungie to force them to actually change it to this week where we have double rewards? Well, the Warden's Law is the first ever heavy burst archetype for hand cannons. The original Warden's Law that came out all the way back within the Forsaken expansion had kind of a one-off intrinsic trait that made it fire 2 bullets instead of 1. I think it still only used up 1 round of ammunition, but Bungie actually developed off that basis and is now saying that the heavy burst archetype is now an official hand cannon archetype within the game, and this is the first of many future heavy burst hand cannons to come. So, as you've been seeing from the background gameplay, this is far from your average hand cannon. In-game, it states that the rounds per minute is 257, and the bursts are actually pretty quick, and I found them to be pretty accurate, especially if you do have barrels and other perks to augment your stability, accuracy, and even now stuff like your recoil stat is going to matter because you have that burst. Now, additionally, people are extremely excited to get to use this in PvP, and the reason for that is because Bungie stated that this new hand cannon archetype would do as much damage as the pre-nerf 120 hand cannon archetype, and that means overall the total damage of a burst will actually be more than a 120 hand cannon, and you can see that right here. Each shot originally is going to do 45 damage, so that's 90 damage per burst, and that means if I trigger a perk like Rampage, just Rampage times 1, I will now do 50 damage per burst for 200 damage total with 2 pulls of the trigger. Now, that's not enough to kill a 10 resilience Titan, as you can see right here, but against a lower resilience opponent, what most people are running in PvP, 8 resilience or less, you will be able to get that 2 burst kill. But it's actually not just Rampage. As you can see right here, the Warden's Law can also get Kill Clip, and with Kill Clip, you're going to bump the damage all the way up to 57 damage per shot, and that is more than enough to kill a 10 resilience Titan within PvP with those 2 bursts. So overall, if you can get that damage boost within a PvP environment, holy crap, you are killing fast if you can land all 4 rounds within those 2 bursts. Not to mention, you can augment these damage increasing perks like Rampage with something like the new Enlightened Action to increase the reload, or Perpetual Motion to increase the reload and provide other stats. Moving Target and Snapshot Sights are good PvP perks that make an appearance as well. But guys, that's not all. Because this is a Nightfall weapon, if you get the Adept version, like I have from doing the Grandmaster, you have access to Adept mods. So as you can see, the base magazine is 16. I put up backup mag 22. Adept mag is going all the way to 24. But you can also put on something like Adept Big One spec, which is great for PvE. It's major spec and boss spec rolled into one. And for PvP, I mean, you can put on Adept Range. In fact, as you can see right here, I actually do have a roll that has Accurized Ballistics plus full bore, and with adept range, I get all the way up to 91 range. If I had a range masterwork, I could actually reach the 100 range cap with this roll. That is pretty insane. So that is why we have a lot of excitement from PvP players for this weapon. But moving on from there to PvE, which is my speciality, let's talk about the potential of this weapon there as well. So, just like in PvP, remember that the overall damage per burst is going to out-damage other hand cannons. And it turns out that difference is pretty significant. As you can see right here, I'm doing some testing with a 140 hand cannon. I get 13,383 damage for a precision shot against a red bar in this lost sector. Now, with a 120, I'm gonna do 15,328 damage, same circumstances. That's about 14% more. Now, with the law, I'm actually gonna do 8,606 damage per shot. In fact, funny enough, I don't even get the full burst off because one of those two shots is enough to kill these enemies, but when you combine those two shots, that's 17,212 damage, and that's actually 12% more than a 120. So in PvE, you actually do almost as much more damage from a 120 as a 120 does more damage than a 140, right? Like, that's a pretty significant bump up. When you put on a 120, you do feel like you crack harder. You're shooting, you know, a bit slower. So again, like, that's a relatively significant damage increase when you use the Warden's Law. But the actual magnitude of fire, the amount of rounds you're putting out, is arguably more so. With a 120 that feels slow, this hand cannon doesn't really have that same slow feeling. And especially if you're doing, you know, normal level content, again, you can, with one of these two bursts, kill certain red bar enemies, especially low tier ones like thralls, with just one round out of a 2-round burst, which means the other round is free to kill the thrall behind it, you know what I mean? So that's actually pretty darn good. Not to mention that the Warden's Law has 2 origin traits, and both of them are fantastic for PvE. You do have Stunning Recovery, where stunning a champion will refill the magazine, triggers health regen, and improves recovery. And guys, Overload Hand Cannon is a mod in the game right now for Season of the Witch. Not to mention you also have Vanguard's Vindication. Now this gives you a small amount of health for final blows, but in a PvE setting where again you're slaying out on red bars, this actually really does add up and gives you a pretty consistent amount of health back, and has saved my life many times within the game. Even just a tiny bit of health can make the difference, right? And if you are going for a PvE role, there's some other perks worth looking at. First and foremost is going to be 4th times the charm. This says if you land 4 precision shots, you get 2 rounds back in the mag. Well, with the Warden's Law, because you're shooting 2 rounds per burst, that just means you need to land 2 bursts precision, and you get 2 rounds back. So you're actually going to be triggering 4th times way more often than you would with a lot of other weapons, right? And in addition to that, you also have the damage increasing perk Frenzy. This is a fantastic PvE perk. It's going to trigger just from taking damage. You don't even necessarily have to kill a target to get things going, and it's going to provide a damage boost as well as a reload speed boost, and the reload speed for the Warden's Law isn't the best. In fact, my favorite PvE role right now is this one right here, where you have Enlightened Action to easily improve the reload. Again, you just need to do damage with it, plus Frenzy. That really helps with my reloads and lets me really consistently utilize this weapon. However, you know, replacing that with 4th times to just have that massive magazine size, or potentially even utilizing the fact that this thing can get Vorpal Weapon to increase damage against bosses, and then just have like an anti-champion hand cannon, right? We often see hand cannons being featured anti-champion weapons. Imagine using the Warden's Law with 4th times Vorpal, stunning a champion, triggering Stunning Recovery, you know, your health is coming all the way back, and then you're just absolutely popping off on a stunned champion, getting easy crits, and refunding your magazine as you're doing that while doing bonus damage thanks to Vorpal. That actually sounds pretty good. Now, I am extremely sad that this weapon can't get my favorite hand cannon perk, which is explosive payload or even timed payload, but maybe in the future we will see this archetype be able to get those god tier PvE hand cannon perks. Regardless, again, very exciting weapon, 100% worth going after just because it is literally the first and only of its kind, not excluding the long sunset original Warden's Law, which some of you watching may still have. Guys, that's it for the video. Hope you enjoyed and found this informative. If you did, please remember to help me out by simply rating and especially sharing this video. If you guys want to see more Destiny 2 content similar to this, don't be afraid to slap that subscribe button. If you want to get in touch with me and keep up to date with the latest channel activity, the best way is to follow me on Twitter at RickCacus. That is linked in the description down below. Again, I hope you enjoyed the video, and as always, have a good day.